Okay, so the Big Door Knock basically is an initiative that we started in early January 23, and it stems from a conversation that we had at our board, well, several conversations, and it was around the cost of living crisis, the impact on our customers. Our board were really concerned that did we really know? They were asking questions about do we really know our customers and our stock? And hand on heart, we couldn't really answer those questions. We had all the data to, we had 100% stock condition that was telling us what we needed to do, where we needed to invest. But there were other sort of indicators that were telling us maybe that we didn't know everything. So we streamlined our complaints policy, making it easier to make complaints, but we were getting quite a lot of complaints around repairs and maintenance, damp, mold and condensation. And also we were getting customers coming forward that we probably only interacted with transactionally. So they basically just kept themselves to themselves and just paid their rent, or they just came to us when they needed some help or support or to report a repair, but it was very infrequent. But we were getting a spike in terms of those customers coming forward. We were also hearing from our staff that their workloads was increasing. We were getting a spike in ASB, and we basically putting all that together. Stock condition was telling us one thing, our performance was telling us one thing, but there were other indicators that were telling us something's not quite right. The aims of the Big Door Knock was to get into behind every single front door, just to find out what was going on. We're quite fortunate that we have just under 3,000 properties. 1,000 of those are quite intensive on a stock transfer estate, so it makes the door knocking a little bit easier. But then we've got other properties that are scattered around a number of local authority areas, so they're not as easy. But the aim was that it was sort of to establish whether the residents and the tenants are actually legitimate, because we've had issues of subletting. The other one was to try and understand what was going on, how things were impacting through the cost of living, how they were managing. Also, just to update our customer profile, because our information was slightly out of date, who was in the household, and we established quite a lot of information that we didn't have before. So, for example, levels of vulnerability or people classing themselves as disabled wasn't on our CRM system. And then to physically inspect the properties, so just to make sure that the properties were in good condition, because the stock condition only sort of concentrates on key components. So they were the main areas really, and any support requirements that they needed, any outstanding repairs. And we found that we actually captured quite a lot of repairs that had gone unreported because people just didn't bother or didn't want to bother us. And if they were left unattended, it would have caused us some problems longer term. If I'm honest, there was a bit of cynicism at the start. We have a mantra: one team, one resource, and we've got roughly just under 80 staff. So we wanted a number of people to get involved from all teams. Some people didn't think it was their role and couldn't understand why they were getting involved. Then there was concerns about, well, what about the day job? We've got work to do. How's that going to impact on current, business as usual, current workloads, performance, taking them out of the office. Do people realise that the things might start falling off the desk? So at the time, there were issues around that. And then we did a lot of pre-planning. So there was a lot of concerns around, well, how are we going to capture the information? We need IT to support. So, can we actually capture the information on devices so we don't have to write them out and then input them again? So it was, again, another mantra we used was, capture the information once, use many times. So I'm hoping people will respond at the session at the Customer Experience Resident Engagement Conference with perhaps an insight into our experience, but that will be heavily caveated by, it is about organizational context, it's about local context, and not one size fits all. I'm aware that we've got larger associations that are spread across a number of local authorities, so getting behind every door, logistically might be impossible for them. So not sure what the answer is to that, but we've got some real takeaways that we can share, and I think the principles of our experience could be applied across the piece. Certainly around, for example, the impact on the cost of living, and I'm sure a lot of people already know the impact on their residents. Stock condition, don't just rely on stock condition data. So I think there's some real key takeaways that we can sort of share with the audience. I suppose the other sort of lessons learned for us is don't assume your stock and your customers, and I think that's a message that's being sort of repeated by the Ombudsman and the regulator, and we've got consumer regulation coming our way from April. Now, again, I think it will be what approach others take to ensure that they overlay their customer information with their stock information. I'm sure there'll be lots of different and innovative ways of doing that. Been in the housing sector for as long as I can remember, and I don't remember the last time we had a national conference focusing on customer experience and residents engagement. So I think it's really timely, given the changes in legislation, the consumer regulations, but also it's the spotlight that's required. I'm hoping to gain a lot of insight in what others are doing. I know that the sector is really innovative, and there's some really good things happening out there, but I'm also interested in hearing what the customers and the residents have to say, and taking hopefully some really good golden nuggets back with me to to think about within Prima. I'm not one for reinventing the wheel, so if something is out there that's really good and it's impactful and it works, obviously we'd have to look at the local context. But yeah, so really looking forward to networking and listening to what others are doing.